Hello, everyone. This is Software Journey with Learn to Code with me. And today I'll be covering essentially how I'm on track this year to make a little over $30,000 in what I like to call rent, but it's actually called premium by selling covered calls on my current position or the shares that I own. So the two stocks that I'm going to talk about that I own, aside from my Roth IRA, of course, is going to be Hive blockchain and also Riot blockchain. So these are both crypto miners that I think are in fantastic shape to continue profiting. So this is just my own personal opinion. These are my own positions. I'll lay it out 100% for you what it is I'm doing, just so I'm transparent about it. But once again, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. So make sure to do your own due diligence. But taking a look at the companies that I'm invested in, I'm primarily invested in Hive. Just because if you haven't seen my previous videos, recommend watching them. It's got an outstanding PE. It's got a tons of profit, over 60 million in the past quarter in net income. Extremely low market cap. If you look at the market cap, I don't know why it's valued so low. This is 486 million in Canadian. So let me go ahead and just convert that. 486 Canadian $2, Canadian $2. And we could see that's about a market cap of around like 383. And then in this instance, it would be million, right? So instead of 486 million, it would be like 380 million. So that's what the market cap's looking like at the moment. Once again, take a look at the previous videos. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I think it's extremely undervalued. The same goes for Riot blockchain. Hive's mining about 450 Bitcoin equivalents, while Riot's mining about 500 Bitcoin every month. And if you haven't looked at my previous videos as well, why I believe that Bitcoin's going to 100,000 and then $1 million in 2025 and 2029 respectively, then go ahead and watch those. Let me know what you think. But that's kind of explains why I'm in these positions. So here's once again Hive, and then more recently, I wasn't as comfortable going into Riot at about $20 because that was a market cap of about 3 billion. Whereas now, when it hit its $6 low, that's when I knew I had to get in. It was only valued at around about 700 to 800 million market cap. Once again, the thing that's not important is the share price. It's the market cap that's important. How much are you valuing the company at? I just thought it was an insanely low because it was under its book value. It's such a good price. Once again, mining 500 Bitcoin a month. So these are primarily my two positions. So those are the two companies. Now that we understand why, or now that you kind of understand why I'm in them, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual details as far as why I'm making about a little over 30K. Now, so from January to April, I had one position. This is going to be Hive. So here's the name of the company. It was an expiration in June of 2022. So I have it standardized so you can kind of follow it a little bit easier. At this time, I had purchased around my dollar cost average for Hive for each of the shares was about, I think it was like $3, 3-ish. And I was willing to take it off my hands. So I sold covered calls with a strike price of $4. The premium was 0.8. So in other words, that means for every contract that I sold, I received $80 worth of rent, or every $80 worth of premium, right? And how many of these did I sell? Well, I had 20,000 shares. So I was able to sell essentially 200 covered calls. So you can see that's 20,000 shares because it's 200 times 100. That's the 20,000 that I had. And since each of them on average, I received about $80. That means that if you multiply the 200 by the $80, that's the rent that I received, about 16,000. Now, I actually didn't receive the full 16,000 because I had to wait until June to let the contracts expire out of the money. As you know, like a lot of the crypto miners went down in price. And so because of that, they were all, in this case, it was out of the money, right? We saw Hive go as low as like 80 cents. And so it's not hitting that strike price of $4. So the people who bought the calls paid me rent for each of these about $80, right? So they bought 200 off of me, and each time they were paying me $80 thinking that it would go past $4. So that's why I personally don't like buying calls. I prefer to sell the calls just because I'll make the rent. So I actually got out of my obligation early. So as the price decreases by selling a covered call, you're able to buy back your position at a lower price. So instead of buying it back at around like 80 cents, I was able to buy it back at around like, I think it was like instead of buying it back at around $80, I was able to buy back that contract at $5, $10. So a small percentage of it. So I actually didn't keep the full 16 grand. I only received about 14 grand, which is nothing bad, And once again, one thing I want to keep in mind is that, 30 grand to some of you may sound like a lot, to others of you, it might sound like very little. And so this is not, to say, to kind of put any value on what it is, but this is just to kind of be transparent about what I'm doing, what my position is, and I don't think it's a small amount of money particularly. I think it's for just passive income, it's it's pretty decent. But that being said, that was my first position on there. That was me kind of selling out my rent on, or covered calls on my 20,000 shares. But then I exited my position early so I could load the boat. And to be honest, I've been consistently loading the boat. As you can see, my current position in Hive is about 38,000 shares, or before the reverse split, it was 38,000. And so that was an increase of about 18,000 shares. I was also able to lower my average. So instead of it being around $3, I was able to lower it down to about $1.93. So this is, before the split, and after the split, that just converts to, multiply that by 5, that's 967, right? So just know that I was able to average down, and I loved the fact that I was able to, keep averaging down. This, excellent prices in my mind, actually insanely low prices in my mind. Once again, this is not a recommendation to buy. This is just my personal opinion of why I am doing what I'm doing. So let's continue looking at what it is. So I exited out of my position early, received that 14,000. So that's already received, right? I have that cash on hand. Now I went ahead and put out some more. I bought some more shares. I bought 18,000 more shares. So I had 38,000 shares, which leads me to sell up to 380 calls, right? So I can sell up to 380 calls, because if you divide this by 100, that's 380 covered, or calls that I could sell. And the first set that I have is expiring at the end of December. I put a strike price of $2, which now after the split would be $10 technically. If you're not familiar with that conversion, I also have a video on essentially how your call options were affected by the reverse split. But just know you kind of, in a sense, multiply the strike price by 5. That's not really what happens, but just know that's kind of like a trick to it, that you can think of it that way. But essentially, if it hits $10, then I get bought out. But regardless, what's the rent that I was looking at? I was looking at a rent of 0.4, which is $40 per contract. I sold 186 of those calls. So that's 18,600 shares. And if you multiply 186 by the $40, that's how you get the rent of $7,440. So that's still active. That's still ongoing at the moment. I could buy those back for about $5 a piece. But why would I? I'm just going to go ahead and wait till expiration, just to let the price increase and then rent them out again. But I'll go into that a little bit later. So that's 14,000 there. That's 7,440 that I'm just waiting to collect at the end of the year in December. If it expires out of the money, or regardless if it expires in the money or out of the money, I'll still receive this rent no matter what. It's called premium, but I'll call it rent just for the sake of kind of making it a little bit easier to imagine. Now, my next position is, once again, Hive has an expiration in September. So this September, I'm actually able to exit my position and rent them out again as early as September if I want to for these amounts. The strike price was again $2. That means post reverse split, that's going to be $10 that when I would get bought out. Each of those contracts is sold for about 10 cents. So that's $10 a contract. I sold about 194 of those. So $10 times 194, that rent is $1,940. And so roughly these two equate to about 10 grand, right? And then my last position is Riot. Riot, when it hit $6, when it hit an all-time low this week I think it even went below $6. I think as low as like $5.90 something cents. Let's see if it's posted on there. Yeah, so it's Riot. Yeah, $5.97. Yeah, so I bought it thankfully when it was very, very low, $6.09. So almost at that extremely low market cap of I think like 700-800 million. Such a phenomenal deal. I bought it that morning actually, and its expiration is for January 23rd, January of 2023, I should say. So this technically, if I say that I'm going to make 30,000 in rent, it's technically not for the year 2022. It's technically not true since it's going to be in January that expires. So you got to give me about like 20 extra days, but roughly that holds true. So it expires in January. The strike price is $7, which means if it's $7 or above, they buy me out. But regardless, I keep that rent. How much was the rent? The premium was $2.10 a piece. And I sold about 32 of those. So I bought 3,200, sorry about the typo. I bought 3,200 shares. And that was about, I think it was at my current prices, that was about like 18, 19 grand. I put in there, like I said, I'm loading the boat with these miners, or I'm trying to. And I sold 32 of those calls, and I received rent of $2.10. So what that is when you multiply $210 per contract by 32 contracts, that's a rent of $6,720. And for all of these three, I'm going to wait until expiration, which is roughly until the end of the year. And I'm just going to collect this rent plus the 14,000 that I already received. So if we were to add all of those up, the 14,000 plus when I wait until expiration for these three rents right here on the right hand side, you'll notice that in January of 2023, what's up with these typos? January of 2023, you will see that that's roughly going to be a little bit over $30,000. So that's one thing to consider, that's just the math of it. So that's what's going to happen as long as I don't exit my position. That's 30K, which is nice. Now, with respect to my position, what am I looking at? Well, I have 38,000 shares pre-reverse split, but nowadays it's 7,609.6. So that's the exact figure. I'm averaging at $9.67. So I'm actually below my average. So I'm waiting to get to above $9.67, which makes sense. Then that's okay. I'm thinking that these companies are going to continue to go up in value, especially as Bitcoin appreciates. And I don't understand its current valuation, like why it's so low either way. And then also, of course, Riot. I have 3,200 shares at an average price of 609. Now, definitely getting that 30,000. But let's say if I were to get these calls exercised. So if these calls, the value, so at the end of the year, let's say, for example, Hive was at $10, that's when I get bought out. And also Riot, if it was at $7, that's when I get bought out. Look at the strike price, $7 and $10. $10 for Hive, $7 for Riot. So then what more could I gain? Well, I would gain the difference, right? From where it currently stands at the moment, or from where I bought it, from where it currently stands, from that $6.09 position. And from right now, it being $4 in Hive, let's take a look at the difference. So Hive alone, once again, how much do I stand to gain from it going up? That would be a difference of about $5.67 if I were to increase my price. Actually, no, I would get bought out at $6. Actually, this is wrong. Let's go ahead and change that to $6, because right now it's $4. Right? That's fine. This is actually a little bit wrong. This is a little bit undervalued. Let's just go with these. So because right now the Hive is $4, and if it were to appreciate to $10, that's when I would get bought out. So it wouldn't be $5.67. It would be actually $6 that it could go up from right now. But let's forget about that. What I want to say is, actually, did I do? Yeah. What I want to say is, if we were to look at me getting bought out, so let's use this lower figure, $5.67 for each of those 7,609 shares that I have. And also, that's just for Hive. And then on Riot's end, remember, I get bought out at $7, but I bought it at 609. So that price increase would be 91 cents. So I would get 91 cents times that $3,200. And we essentially get these values, 43,146. So it was like about 43K from its current value, essentially, if I were to get bought out. So that's how much it would appreciate. And then plus we have to consider the 2,900. So that would actually just be profit itself. So it looks like I kind of mixed up these numbers. This would actually be, pure profit if I was getting bought out. This would not be pure profit. Some of it would be actually just the position I'm down on. The pure profit itself would be the $10 minus the 33 cents. Yeah, so $10 minus 967. So that would be 33 cents. That would be the pure profit. But this is just essentially, we can think of it as like, how much would my position go up right now? And it would go up an additional 46,000. So from the rents and from what my position would go up, so from the rents and if the calls were exercised, then I would receive about, let's call it like 76,000, right? So let's just round it around there, 76, 75,000. What I hope to happen is that Hive stays below $10. And of course, like I would want it Riot to stay below $7. Ideally, I would want to load the boat, continue loading the boat on both of these. You know, as I'm receiving paychecks, I'm going to be putting my money into these companies. That's not a recommendation for you to do that, but that's what I'll certainly be doing. Just because I think there's a lot of return on investment to be had. But realistically, Riot's going to be sold out because it was at an all-time low. I'm certain I'm feeling pretty confident that by January, you know, it's going to hold above $7 and I'll just get paid out that full amount. Essentially, what amounts to 6,700 of rent plus the 2,900 of appreciation. So that's roughly 10 grand, right? A little bit under 10 grand. But Hive, that's one that I'm hoping stays below 10, just because of the reverse stock split. It has a negative association with it, you know. So I'm hoping that it just stays down so that I can keep adding, because it's just such a phenomenal price. And that way I can keep my shares and just rent them out again. Regardless, as long as it stays at even a low price, so I would be willing to buy a Hive at as much as low as, I would say, perhaps even like $20. Yeah, even at $20, I'd be willing to buy. So I think those, like I said, those are just excellent prices. So as long as it's below $20, I'll still be buying in and I'll still be selling covered calls on it. Just because I think over the long run, especially as Bitcoin appreciates to what I believe will be, you know, 100,000 per coin, and then eventually 1 million per coin, you know, these companies are just going to have, you know, huge market caps, and that'll be reflected in their share price. So that's how I'm kind of navigating the market this year. Of course, I do have an investment in my Roth IRA. That's always a nice thing to have. Just for that, I just specifically have it in the S&P, just because that's a solid way to earn a few million when I retire. I think like 3 million by the time I retire, as long as I'm consistently investing 6 grand a year in my Roth IRA, which is essentially a car payment, 500 a month. I'm very fortunate to be in this position, but that I hope kind of explains what I'm doing. And, you know, if you have any questions about, you know, what a covered call is, you know, if you want me to break down any of these values, let me know. I hope that you found this entertaining and also like transparent about what it is I'm doing. And hopefully it also boosts your confidence about perhaps your position, if you feel that, you know, you're down in the red and you think that, you know, you're curious as to whether you believe things will go back up. Now that's completely up to you whether you decide to hold or not. But maybe it makes you feel more comfortable if you see that other people are also confident about their position. Once again, this is not financial advice. This is just for entertainment. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. And please like and subscribe if you did like the video, and I'll be pumping out more content as we continue. Hope to see you soon.